Who sent that? All right, good morning, everyone. Kick it off here. All right, U.S. markets yesterday we had S&P. We had a little pullback, about 0.4%. We kind of had we're closed on yesterday's market from Friday. We're still going back to that, having a look at that. So yesterday we were obviously closed there in the States, Europe and Asia. Europe kind of traded so-so on a very lackluster day of volume, like you would expect when the U.S. markets are closed. But in Asia, we had a decent result. So you can see there across the board in Asia, we're up mostly across the board. Nikkei up over 1%, but everything was up 0.5% plus. We haven't really seen every one of the Asian markets move in the same direction in a while. So I actually think it's it's a little bit of a plus on the day. It's the first day that we've seen this in a while, and so we've seen China maybe benefiting a bit out of the PBOC's injection of funds into the market and to the credit market. I really think that that's going to be a major story going into the year, and we're going to want to see how that continues to develop. The whole subprime thing comes to mind every time I see this, and I remember how the subprime thing started, and equity markets really just continue to rally to new highs every day. During the beginning, people were subprime, schmubprime kind of stories, and no one was really that interested until it became, until a couple of the big banks started to go under. So I think we're going to have to really monitor this story. For me, it could be the biggest story of the year, and I really think it could create a huge sell-off in equity markets globally if it continues to escalate. All right, in Japan, we saw a rise on the back of a weaker yen. Some comments from the economic minister that seemed to escape inflation, and remember they're aiming to have inflation, so they're obviously going to keep this thing, the foot on the gas in terms of their economic policy there. All right, we've got SAB Miller that's out at the opening bell. We're expecting organic lager volumes at 2%, net producer revenue expected at 5%, and then the regional numbers that we're going to look for on organic lager volumes: Latin America up 2, Europe down 1, Miller Coors sales to retailers down 2, Africa 9, Asia Pacific 5, South Africa 2. So have a look at that. I think the obvious ones to focus on are going to be Latin America, Africa, and Asia Pacific. So maybe jot those numbers down and wait for that to pop out at the opening bell. Remember, London's not going to be open, so it's going to be incredibly thin when those numbers break, and things can get ugly. I remember the last time that they came out with numbers, we had about 15 Rand, 20 Rand swing, and there was no stock around, so you just got to be very, very careful playing in it early this morning. All right, we had Johnson & Johnson out before the U.S. bell today. We've also got Halliburton, and then later during the session we've got Verizon, Texas Instruments, and then after the bell we've got IBM. So we're continuing to get into the thick of U.S. earnings season. We're going to watch how that plays out. We're in an exceptional bull market, I think, at the moment. The earnings have continued to be, mediocre at best, I think, and we drive higher pretty much every day, so just keep that in mind. Be careful out there, trying to be a train stopper in this market. All right, SA leading indicators out at 9 o'clock this morning. We've got the ZEW survey out at 12, and current situation out at 12. So in Germany, that has been a market mover for the last maybe 6 months that we've been watching it. So pay attention to that one at 12 o'clock. All right, let's hop into the maps real quick. Okay, first thing I want to have a look at, I've already got the chart up here, is the Aussie spot. You can see there that little line that shows you where we opened up this morning. We're actually only up 88 points. I think we're showing up higher than that earlier, but you can see there this is really a continuation pattern for the recent correction we had down to 40,800, and we're breaking out the top of this continuation pattern today. If we can hold above this level today, we're looking for about a 1,600 point move to the upside, which would put us all the way at 44,000. which would be quite impressive. Just keep that one in mind. I mean, it could be a hell of a long ways to run on this move. All right, so let's have a look at Amplats. Going along with that continuation pattern we're seeing in the futures market, we got a lot of stocks that are kind of that handful of stocks are starting to break out again. A couple stocks that are starting to flag out on bull flags, and I think you just got to be really careful. What I wanted to show here, let's first have a look at Anglos, okay, and just recognize this pattern here with the kind of making a top up in September and then coming back up and testing the top, or more or less testing it in November, and then dropping out of support at 430, retesting support a couple times, and then breaking up through 430. Now look at the Amplats chart. Looks almost identical to it with a test up here around, or with a bounce up here around 455. Then we bounce up to around close to 450. Then we break down through 400 support. 2 tests of 400 support. And then we've bounced up through it. So this chart is looking almost identical to the Anglos chart, if you ask me, but maybe a couple days behind it. Thinking that there could be another day or two of upside here in Amplats, maybe up to, I don't know. Anglos did test its September highs intraday the other day at 457. Maybe we could get up and at least test the November highs around 445, 450 in Amplats. So watch that one over the next couple of days. The platinum stocks seem like they're starting to turn. I know they've got some negative news around them with the strikes and things like that, but I think it was priced in. All right, next we're going to look at Nedbank. Nedbank somewhere in here. We've looked at this a couple times, these charts. I think I think somewhere in here is your risk range. We're looking in here from 198 to 201, but really this is another one of our ones that's just really setting up a massive flag, if you ask me, and looking to potentially move up higher through that. Obviously, if the market, caters for it. MTN. Sorry, let's look at a 1 year here. Also making a real flag pattern up off of recent highs. I was expecting this thing to come down and at least test where it broke out at 205. I think we got about a 208 odd intraday, maybe a couple days ago, but couldn't get all the way down there. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing continue to drift down and sideways a little bit and continue in this flag pattern. But these are bullish patterns. The fact that they're not dropping out the bottom, that they're not even coming all the way down to test support very quickly, is bullish. Vodacom looks the same way. Vodacom also in a flag pattern, really coming down and more or less to test support here. And still managing to hold above the 128 level. The longer these things hold up, the more likely that they are to go and move to the upside. All right, so we'll have a look at Woolworths. Woolworths has a little bit of a support level here. We can look at this in 2 places. We can possibly look from where the closing low was in November, but also if you go all the way back to July, August. Remember we were talking about this before we ended up breaking out here. This has become a big level at 68, and you can really see it. I drew that a bit skew, but bottom line is we got down there, we tested it the last 2 days, we've managed to hold it. We're kind of holding the 68 to 69 level somewhere in there, and I think if we can hold it for a few more sessions, that'll be really positive for Woolworths and maybe able to take us back up to the top end of this consolidation range. All right. Let's look at Life Healthcare. Life Healthcare also, same thing, 1 year chart, breakout. I've actually seen there's a lot of charts with this little M pattern here. Sunlam comes to mind, the previous one that we just showed. Woolworths also looks a little bit like that. But this one coming down to test support from where we broke out on Life Healthcare. It's also right at its 200-day moving average on yesterday's close. So watch this one closely. If it drops below this level, it really could continue to fall for quite a while. But if we can hold here, then it's probably worth a look on the long side. All right, and the last one we're going to show here is Poly out of the UK. We're actually just going to shorten it up here a little bit, and we're going to have a look at just pushing up against trend resistance. You can see there possibly just breaking out to the upside, but we're right there, very close. You can see this thing's kind of looking like it's found the bottom since July, managing to kind of the pullbacks are less and less, and starting to look like it's going to turn to the upside here. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.